Hello, everyone. It is February 4th, 2026, and I'd just like to welcome you to the virtual breakfast session. I'm Larry Sashin, and today we have a great group of guys to discuss outsourcing. How do you save money, save time, and still maintain quality? But before we go into the show, let's thank the guy who's paying the bills, Ed Flanagan and the ERA group. Hey, Ed is always reaching into the bag and pulling out a new magic trick to save people money. If you don't know about the IRS Section 125 cafeteria plan, call Ed, because I'll tell you, he is going to put money back into your pocket. The money you're spending for health insurance, your people are spending from health insurance, and you're spending for um, taxes. Hey, a lot of that's going back in your pocket. So call Ed Flanagan at the Era Group. So back to the show, outsourcing. It used to be that everybody used to sit and chop and cut, and there's no reason for it now. But before we go into that, why don't we introduce ourselves? Gerard, why don't you start?
Well, I'm Gérard Berthelon from Cuisine Solution. We are the world leader on sous vide. I'm a chef, and we started the company. We were only five, rented a kitchen, and now we have six plants, and we have 3,000. So clearly, outsourcing took some time for us to share our knowledge with the customer, but it's growing, and people are learning. They're getting smarter. Not only they want to save money, but they want to ensure that the safety is behind it. All our products are fully cooked and fully pasteurized. So people are getting much smarter about doing their business, not only saving, but security, reduction of waste. So that's become more and more important now.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Stephen, say hi.
Hi guys, how are you? My name's Stephen Yen. Currently, I am a consulting chef and the chef ambassador for a seafood company called Go Fish, located here in New York City. We supply many New York City restaurants and country clubs and private clubs with excellent seafood.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Fred, say hi.
Good morning, I'm Fred Clashman, editor and publisher of Total Food Service. Looking forward to a great session.
Okay, and once again, I'm Larry Sashin. And outsourcing, you know, I remember the old days. I mean, both Gerard and Stephen have told me how they bring a cow into the restaurant, and they used to sit and cut it down, portion it. I mean, hey, thank God labor costs are so low that we have time and the money to do that now. Stephen, why don't we talk about that?
Sure. I what I do is I call all these products value added, right? Where the goal is to save on labor. The goal is to get a product that is perfect, it's usable, it is the old world of if you had a teaching institution, I mean, you have three Michelin stars, you got these cooks that are coming to learn, and they're going to put your name on their resume. That's a teaching institution. That is you're never buying peeled garlic. You're never buying peeled shallots. You're making everything from scratch. That is very few and far in between nowadays in restaurants. You have now beautiful facilities that are making incredible stocks. You have vegetable cutting facilities that are cutting, if you want a beautiful roll cut, oblique cut on carrots, you're going to get it. If you want a perfect Sicily on onions, you're going to get it. And it's come to a beautiful place now where the product you're looking for, same thing. We fabricate fish into whatever portion size you want at no extra cost. It's a cost of doing business for us. But it really comes down to making sure that the restaurateurs and the chefs are getting the consistent product. Now I think you'll see a lot of, for instance, par-cooked chicken is going away, where fully cooked chicken is now taking the lead. If from a U.S. Food, Cisco, PFG standpoint. Then you also have, if you want to think about pastry is very labor intensive. A lot of restaurants can't afford a pastry chef. tart shells. I think tart shells is a perfect example. This is, you're making a pâte sablé, and you are then doing one by one, and you're also then using great oven space. That oven space could be used for other things. A lot of these restaurants can only afford one combination oven, and sometimes it's a fight between savory and pastry of when they can use the oven. So I think having companies being able to supply you exactly what you, here's a great example too. The cones, right? Thomas Keller, one of the most iconic salmon cornet. Now those cones are sold through Chef's Warehouse, Dairyland, and other companies. And it is not only a great product, they've actually evolved the product. They've taken the feedback from chefs and said, we can make it better. We don't want to lose this sale. And at the same time, what I've run into is more of these companies are now saying, we have the manufacturing plant, we have the equipment, we need more restaurateurs. We need more quick service groups to come to us and say, "Hey, can you process this for me? Can you do this for me?" And then it becomes a private label. It's your recipe. It's not, you're not buying something that was your other chef friends are going to make fun of you for. It's now someone's going to say, "Where did you get that? I want that." It's that demi is not that really bad demi that, Cisco used to carry 10, 15 years ago. That is a phenomenal product. And then at the same time, you're seeing these companies. There's a company in Ohio that built its manufacturing plant right across the street from one of the biggest cutting houses. So now the bones, you don't even have that CO2 or the gas or, traveling, shipping these bones across the country or to another country. They're literally going across the street and making chicken stocks and demis and, whatever you're looking for, and you're getting phenomenal products. So, I am
Thank you.
for outsourcing.
Thank you. Outsourcing and cuisine solutions are exactly the same. You are the source for outsourcing. Gerard, why don't you explain what Cuisine Solutions does and how it can help a restaurateur?
Well, you have to see that all the industry, not just us, had done a lot of progress. Just like Stefan said, the quality that you find today has nothing to do compared to 20 years ago. So we consider ourselves as an extension of the kitchen for the chef. When we came, we didn't want to make meals like a boeuf bourguignon or something done. We, as a chef, we want to make sure we didn't want to take the creativity from the chef. So, we're not here to replace the sous chef or the chef de party. We're here to help them out. Today, there is a lack of qualified labor. Most line cook, like maybe Stefan and I, they never went to a culinary school. It was not a passion, a vocation for them. It was just like bring money, bring food to feed their family. So most of those places don't have the right qualification. So we come with a product, not only is fully cooked, because just like Stefan said, there is more fully cooked, but now our customers are asking even more. We do a fully pasteurized, so we remove we destroy all vegetable form of bacteria, vegetable bacteria, Listeria, Salmonella. So all the larger corporation, from retail to airline, are looking for pasteurized product, not just fully cooked. And that's with our technology, we're able to do that. But again, we have to be partner with a chef to be accepted. They have to see us as a true partner. That's why we try to keep the product as simple as possible. We do a amazing short rib cook for 3 days, 72 hours. It's just salt, pepper. We have a beautiful wild octopus. We don't even have salt, pepper. We wash it twice. We cook it sous vide for many hours. It's so tender. And there is it's very clean ingredient, because people are looking also for clean ingredient. Many times in the past, you had the list of ingredient was 20, 30, half of them you couldn't pronounce it. So cleaner label, simple process, fully cooked, fully pasteurized. And now the chef, the F&B, they see the bottom line, saving labor, saving waste, because you just reheat. Today, if you have a banquet for 1,000, you have no choice. You have to cook the 1,000 piece of chicken, because it's going to take 20 minutes to cook it. Well, when you have something fully cooked, fully pasteurized, it will take 1/3 of the time. So if you have 1,000, you reheat 800, and at the last minute, you will just add 50. So labor saving, lack of high quality staff, all of that help us to bring more item to help the chef.
So outside of the ego of the chef, what's holding people back? What is the educational process that makes someone take that first step?
What we see is the younger chef wants to do everything. You know, that I don't think it's kind of like insecurity. They have to prove themselves. They know how to cook. They went to a lot of place, but as soon you see a more seasoned chef, older chef, they understand what the business is about. It's about delivering the best food experience to your customers. And how you going to achieve that if you don't have the right staff or enough staff? Today it's cut because the labor is going up. The bottom line has to be bigger company are talking about EBITDA. So the well-seasoned chef have to look at the bottom, not just a chicken, a raw chicken versus a cooked chicken or versus a fully cooked pasteurized chicken. Bottom line, when we see our customer, at the end, their P&L, they make more money. Reduction
So,
of waste, reduction of labor. And again, if you take the creativity from the chef, of course they're going to block you if they give them a finished product. But if you give them an ingredient where you take zero creativity out of their tool, what they want to create with it. If you give them a short rib just salt pepper or chicken just salt pepper, but it's fully cooked, it's going to be juicy. It's going to have 15 to 20% more juiciness. And every single time it's going to be perfect. When they test it, they're like, why should I do it?
so
If
Stephen,
somebody can do it
hold on one
perfectly,
sec, Chef. So
yeah,
Stephen, I get it in a high volume catering execution. I get it. Is there a place for this in a la carte as well?
Absolutely. I
Okay, so
think,
talk about that for a minute.
sure, I think initially, let's say 5 years ago, when you had vegetables that were cut, the initial pushback was it was a 2 to 3 day lead time. You had to tell your produce company, hey, I need a case of Brussels cut. They said, okay, great. I need 2 to 3 days because then they would process it. Now that window has shortened. So now you have, a normal chef or sous chef when they're doing their produce order at night, they can order it, it'll be there the next day. So it's instantaneous. Also, what you will see is a disconnect between the kitchen managers and the owners, where the owners say, okay, if we're going to buy this pre-cut Brussels, I better see the rewards in the labor. But what you were seeing was the kitchen managers were protecting the hours of the cooks because that is their team, and they wanted them to not quit on them, and they wanted to make sure they're having their 40 hours or 50 hours overtime, whatever have you. And like Chef Gerard said, you have these very young green kitchen managers, sous chefs, whatever you want to call them, that don't understand the business. They do not understand the business side of it, the number side. They just understand this guy works for me. I need to get him his 50 hours. I need to get him his 10 hours of overtime. When you can say, listen, if we buy this beautiful chicken stock and these vegetables that are pre-cut, we can then focus the time. And what I usually do is say, listen, this guy's been doing 50 hours a week. I'll meet you in the middle. I'll give you 45 hours for 1 month, and then we'll cut it down to 40, slowly, because people are very resistant to change, especially in the kitchens. So you want to just make an evolution, and you can draw it out for the sous chef, the exec chef, or whoever is really doing the scheduling. But it's really coming down to showing them the numbers. At one restaurant that we ran was we would every week we did a food and labor projection. And that is a promise from the chef to the ownership saying, I promise I'm going to spend this much on Monday for food and this much on Monday for labor. And you did that weekly and you based that off of, past data. So a lot of these business sided Excel sheets are very foreign to these young, cooks and chefs. So I think now that we have these value added products, you can actually spend a little more time with these guys and show them the business side, hopefully. Because in my opinion, it's a no-brainer. I think French fries are the easiest things to purchase. But nowadays, even cut onion, like, a perfect example is pico de gallo. If you owned a Mexican fast casual and you just did the math on how much labor goes into cutting pico de gallo per day, per week, and then you can offer not only separate, I can give you red onions, I can give you bell peppers, I can give it to you separately, so then you can still mix it in and make it yours. or you can have the Trinity coming to you, but something of that nature where I think no one's doing the math. Once they do the math, they're going to say, wow, yes, we are saving on this. Plus, like I said, in the beginning, there was pushback because you had to have that 2 to 3 day lead time. And a lot of savory chefs have no patience, right? They're not pastry chefs. They can't wait for the bread to rise twice. They can't, they want it now. They want it now, now, now. So I think that is because the industry has closed the gap there, it's become a lot more accepted.
Okay. So, what I'm hearing is once again, just like everything else in the restaurant, it all comes down to education and training. Education and training. Gerard, can you talk about the educational outreach that your company does?
Well, we have, when we started, we wanted to be a chef-focused company. Today, now, just in the US, we have 61 chefs. Not only we have American chef, but we have Japanese chef, um, Indian chef. We want to make sure we're able to bring authenticity to the product. Uh, Going back to Stefan, today is not even people are not even looking to shorten and cut labor. Today, most of our customers do not have labor. I mean, they hire people that 10 years ago they will never hire. Today, if you have a good attitude and you have two hands, you're hired. There is a shortage of people, and the business still good. People still going to restaurant, they still spending money, and how you can keep a consistency because there is so many choice. What you're going to do to bring back the customer, because yes, one day you have a great meal and next time you bring your friend and you have a lousy meal. Why? Because the staff is not there. How you bring this consistency? We have some one-star Michelin buying our product. The octopus, the 72 hours. We have a pork belly we cook for 40 hours. It's like thing, and it's just salt, pepper. They are smart. They have to find solution. Maybe it's vegetable, it's pre-portioned fish. Something simple where, a fish will take 5 minutes to cook, on the boiler is going to be beautiful. They have to calculate and they have to design their menu to minimize the step, to still give a beautiful experience and to bring consistency. So people are really rethinking how they make their menu, how they make their dishes, to count the number of steps, how long it's going to take before they get the order. Because if you place the order and 20 minutes later you're still waiting for your food, you're not going to come back.
I think to touch on the level of the talent pool out there is he hit it spot on. Because now forget cooking. Let's talk about sanitation and cleanliness. If these cooks can't even cook, how can you trust them to actually be clean and sanitized? So now you're seeing less cross-contamination with outsourcing a chicken product, right? Before you would have these guys with pride that they would want to clean better than they cooked. You don't see that at all, right? These guys, I'm looking at them, they're using the side towel. I saw a guy last night, he had gloves on, didn't change his gloves, didn't wash his hands. Then he used a side towel to clean the gloves and he kept working. It's something where I wanted to, it was an open kitchen. I was a guest and at that moment I was like, all right, time to go. Time to go. I actually mentioned to the manager, I'm like, I think you should build a wall and close that kitchen off. You think it's a good look, and I'm telling you, the seasoned veterans that come in here, they're not going to come back.
So
Wow.
let's talk, how is this packaged? You say they cut to order. Is this you just bring a gigantic bag with all the slices in it? How does the restaurateur receive your goods so that he can use one piece at a time or two pieces at a time?
The question for Stefan, for me.
For whoever wants to answer.
Both.
Stefan, you want to start?
Sure. So, I
Both.
mean, veggies, they'll usually do pack size, 5 pounds. Let's say it's onions, bell peppers of that nature. If it's something where Chef Gerard, like you said, the octopus, the pork belly, all that, it will be most likely vacuum sealed. So then you have a longer shelf life on it. But the greatest thing is they have a HACCP plan. Now, restaurants, it's harder and harder and harder to get approval for these HACCP plans. Even if you submitted the perfect bulletproof HACCP plan, they're still going to come down and walk through the entire process with you, because the HACCP plan, in the eyes of the DOH, is just another area that they can financially monetize you, right? They can say, I can get more money out of this guy. And you're just putting a bigger target on you, especially if you're a smaller restaurant. They're going to say they're going to make mistakes. I'm going to hit them for every single mistake. And even if you correct the mistake, you're still financially responsible for every single thing that you potentially did wrong.
Yeah. So back to the educational process. How do we let the person who this is third generation, his grandfather opened a business, God knows how many years ago. And we like to keep everything the way grandpa did it. Grandpa, I'm sure, wasn't paying $18 an hour for a dishwasher, or $30 for a line chef. Grandpa was paying everybody dirt. And how do we convince him when, if I slice this piece of meat myself, it's this price, but when I buy from you and it's individually packaged, each piece is a little bit more. How do you get that through their head?
I don't know that grandpa's in business anymore, Larry.
No.
I really don't. I question whether grandpa's still around and whether his kids have gone on, sold the building and gone on to something else. It's too sophisticated and too complicated now.
Okay.
I think.
Somebody who's still behind the times.
Yeah.
How do we make him get that first step? What is the thing that you have to? Here I am. I've never done this before. I got a bit of an ego. How are you going to break me down so I'll start this?
It's a time consuming, like for chef, they have to test it. They have to. That's why we have so many chefs, so many people. Again, Monday, I had a 1-star Michelin coming with his team coming here. When they test the product, they have one oven at their restaurant. Are they going to cook a 40 hours pork belly or 72 hours short? No, they don't have time. They need it for the bakery. They need it, just like Stefan was saying. They don't have the equipment for it. But as soon they put this piece of pork belly with like buttery and because of the concentration of the flavor, you have amazing flavor. They're like, the owners told to the chef, said, well, chef, we know how to do it. He said, can you do better? He's like, no. So what do you want to do it? Let's focus on the thing we cannot find, and the industry cannot help us. But then if you find a perfect octopus, a perfect pork belly, why doing it? If we cannot do better, if we can do better, let's do it. But if we cannot do better, this quality, was not created by this technology. I'm talking only for our part of business, by scientists, but by chefs. All the 3-star chefs in France were doing it. That's why I came because I was a chef in New York and I wanted to learn it. And those guys in 3-star, they have 25 chefs to do 50 customers or less. It's all about quality, it's about consistency, it's about safety. And we found that in many things. In stock, it's the same thing. One time it's burned, one time it's too light, it's too runny. Something when you have a specialist, just like Stefan said, only their job is to do stock. They're going to make it, when in the kitchen, you make stock today, you make steak in 3 days. Bill does it, Fred does it, if somebody does it. Like us, when we do sous vide, why we are the best at it, that's the only thing we do. We don't do spherification. So the industry have developed so much technology, and a lot of industry have really invested in innovation and so forth. When you go to food show today and you test product, you're amazed by the product you can do. I work in 2 3-star Michelin myself in France. Today, if I open something, I will open a bistro and I will really bring some more convenient food that I will assemble and I will put some style to it. And I know if I open 1 store or 5 store, they're all going to be the same. And I'm going to give a much better quality of life to the employee, because I'm not going to make them work for 80 hours a week and something, and then they get burnt out and they just quit. A lot of people quit after COVID. A lot of people didn't come back. They stay home with their family and said, I don't need a life to work on a weekend, work until midnight. So it's about quality of life. Those ingredients are not only a consistent product, a saving money in labor for the owner, but it's also bringing a better quality for the staff.
You know, I think the easiest way to convince an owner or an operator is twofold. One, you ask them, what's your attrition rate? Is your staff a revolving door? Do they stick around for 6 months, a year, and then they're gone? Because then you don't have consistency. If your butcher is changing every 6 months to a year, I'm sorry, you don't have same thing. If your saucier changing every year, you're not going to be consistent. And especially your sous chef, if they're giving you 2 years and then moving on to another restaurant, you're not going to be consistent. The second part is really talking to them about gross versus net weight. Okay. Most of the prices that you get for beef, for chicken, for fish, and everything is gross weight. And they think, oh, I'm getting an amazing deal. But after you trim, you have your net weight, you have your waste. I bet you 9 out of 10 is not weighing after they butcher. They're not weighing, and they're not doing their own math on waste and usage. And if let's say you're buying a brisket, right? Brisket, you only have about a 50% yield. So that's terrible, right? Salmon, you have a 25% loss on average. So then now you're saying, what am I doing with it? If you're a great restaurant and you're saying, okay, I'm going to use the bones for fumet, I'm going to take the skin and I'm going to dehydrate and we're going to make some salmon crisp and make maybe a tartare, serve it with the salmon crisp, and you're really thinking it through. Same thing when we talked about bringing in a whole side of a cow, it only works if you design the menu to be based off the entire side of the cow. Otherwise, you have these people come in, I want ribeye, I want ribeye, I want ribeye. Okay, great. What about our chuck steak? What about the sirloin? What about the culotte? There's so many cuts that you have to then spend more money marketing to make sure you can move that product versus now, like most restaurants, if you come in, like, oh, steak frites, okay, I want a sirloin, I want a sirloin. And there's only so many sirloin per primal. But it's really coming down to teaching the operators gross versus net, and then also asking them, hey, let's be honest. If you look in your kitchen, when you opened 5 years ago, is everyone still here? Or has people moved on? Because we can be the people that never leave. Outsourcing can be the most consistent thing in your restaurant. I think that's what the owners and operators who are against it, they really need to learn that. Because like I said, the labor you only reap the benefits of labor if it's a properly managed kitchen. Like I said, I see too many kitchen managers protecting the hours of their cooks, and then the owners are like, it's not worth it. I'm just gonna go back to what I was doing before. It's not worth it because for the most part, the margins, let's say you buy a case of Brussels. Right now, Brussels are insane. Driscoll, $117, Dairyland, 90, Baldor around 80. If you buy it from a company that's cutting it for you, they're going to do a 25 to 30% markup. So now you're playing the margin game, and now it's up to you to play them against each other to get the margins down. To say, if I use high volume, can you knock it down? Like, it's that business side that these guys aren't realizing that they should. And again, education. I was just saying this the other day. There are too many sous chefs that have become chef de cuisines and executive chefs, but no one's ever trained them to actually become chef de cuisines and executive chefs. There's no continuing education. There's no certification. Of course, yes, you have the ACF, there's those, but in New York City, if you come out and say, hey, I'm a certified executive chef, certified master chef, most people look at you like, where the hell did you get the time to do all that? Like, this is a place where you're go, 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 go. And if you don't go and you take the time to go get that certification, someone's going to take your job. It's a dog eat dog world in New York City. So it's one of those things where if you showed up with a resume that has the ACF accreditation, they're going to be like, how? Who paid for this? And how did you have all this time to do this? Um, so those are my sell points to owners and operators. Look at your attrition rate, know what you're buying, and then factor it into. Last night we were talking about dessert, and a lot of restaurants are just giving a free dessert to turn the table fast. Everyone gets the same thing. Taverna Coladas here in Astoria, everyone gets the same dessert. They just put on the table with the check because they need the table back, right? And people are going out, but it's one of those things, you factor that dessert cost into every other dish a little bit. If you're a Johnson and Wales guy, you call it the Q factor. Different colleges and different schools call it a different thing. You put it into the plate cost, and it's like bread. If you're giving bread, you put it into the cost, but then you get to make your appetizer and entrees a little bit smaller, because now hopefully they filled up on bread, and it's a lot of things that go into the business aspect where I do see a need for a continuing education certification or something where maybe it's online or something. The industry, that's where the gap is, in my opinion.
Okay, it's that time again, guys. What I hear right now, and from both Gerard and Stephen, is that it goes back to the concept of Henry Ford. You have a pile of unskilled labor working a complicated process. So what you have to do is make it as simple and as efficient as you possibly can. And if you're giving somebody unskilled labor and say, you take this piece, you take it out of the wrapper, put it on the pan, add the sauce, warm it through, we serve. It takes a lot of the guesswork and consistency. So before we go around the room and leave that one last little tidbit of information, we have to thank the guy who paid the bills today, Ed Flanagan and the Era Group. Listen, if I can't drill anything into your head today, I just want you to remember the IRS Section 125 cafeteria plan. Call Ed at it's eragroup.com, and they will explain the 125 plan to you and how it puts money back in your pocket. Guys, thanks for coming today. Listen, Gerard, give me one little tidbit of information that people should remember when they talk about portion control and cuisine solutions.
Well, we have really a lot of chefs from different country, different background who can bring great recipe, but bottom line, it's all about consistency and safety. How you bring back the customer every night, give them a great experience every single time they come, so they know what they're going to expect and come back to your restaurant. And using some of our product is going to be the same all the time. It's going to be juicy. It's going to be safe. It's going to be fast. As Stefan was saying, sometimes it takes too much time. By the time you get your order, you can send it in 4 or 5 minutes. So you can add more, you can turn your table more around. So they have so many advantages. I like to say, in the bag, there is not just a chicken. There is a huge amount of saving and opportunity to grow your business and to make more money.
Sure. Thank you. Stephen.
I would say, focus on the business side. Portion control will become a constant, not a variable. And as you learn, I teach everyone in the kitchen is the only constant is change. So then if you can create variables into constants, you're going to allow yourself to be able to tackle the curveballs that will happen every single day.
Okay, thank you. Fred, anything to say?
I can't thank you enough, guys. Great teachers. So very quickly, if today's world is an entree between $35 and $50, you better get it right. And if you're going to get it right, you better rethink exactly like Stephen just said. You got to go backwards, and you got to talk to folks like Gerard and Go Fish to really think this thing through properly. It's not the same business.
Okay. Nice. I want to thank everybody for coming today, and it opened my eyes. Hopefully, it's opened the eyes of some of the listeners, and they get a hold of you. Gerard, where can they get a hold of you?
Well, cuisinesolution.com. They can look at our website, and we distribute all over the US and worldwide. We do restaurant chain, small restaurant, airline, cruise line. Clearly, like I said, this technology is evolving and is evolving very fast. And we are just an extension of your kitchen, and we are the line cook. The creativity is still with them. So give us a call or look at our website, cuisinesolution.com.
Thank you. And Stephen,
I would say Social media, Instagram, tasty goodness. It's what I cook and it's what I eat. Tasty goodness.
Okay. All right. And, we're going to be back next week. Hope to see you then. And until then, I only have two things to say. Everybody, stay positive, test negative. I'll see you next week. Bye now, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.